There is nothing like waking up to the unbearable sound of a kitten's song. This is the alarm clock of our hero Chanjital. He wakes up with the face of someone who has been run over by a truck full of bills. The reason is noble. He is late for college. But don't think he is an exemplary student concerned about his diploma. The boy's desperation is purely financial. Doing the math, he realizes that each missed class costs exactly 21 rias. For someone who counts every cent, seeing money going down the drain without even hearing the teacher's voice is the biggest tragedy of life. To save his precious coins, he decides to make a choice that anyone who has seen a horror movie knows is a fatal mistake. Shang Tao chooses to take a shortcut through an alley that looks like it was pulled straight from a nightmare. It is dark and smells terrible. Suddenly he steps on something slimy. The ground is covered in dead fish. The smell of blood fills the air. As he raises his phone, he comes face to face with a bizarre figure, glowing eyes and a smile that would make the Joker quit his job. Our penny pincher's heart nearly stops. But the twist is worthy of an Oscar. The monster is merely a foreign delivery man carrying boxes of fish who needed a little help. Shang Tao, in a rare moment of altruism, helps the man and receives an "I love China" as a reward. He leaves feeling like a saint. He believes the universe will repay his good deed. Spoiler, the universe doesn't care about his good deed. The real monster was waiting just around the corner. The joy of the poor lasts little, and that of the good lasts even less. He runs into Ang Lee, the bully who is basically the boy's personal nightmare. Ang Lee is broke, without a dime. He decides that today's bank will be our protagonist. Chanjita tries to run, but let's be honest, he has the fitness level of a bag of chips. He is captured and humiliated. Thanks to modern technology, Ang Lee cleans out his bank account with a simple cell scan. To top it off, the bully breaks the kid's junk phone, leaves it on the ground, bleeding and without money for lunch. Lying on the ground, he questions why karma is so unfair. Tiandi Tao receives a notification that will change the meaning of the word revenge. While lamenting his fate, Tiandi Tao's broken phone shows a message from a stranger named Koi. The proposal is simple. Make a wish to this carp and something good will happen. With hatred running through his veins, he doesn't wish for money or health. He types what everyone would think in that situation. Wang Li, go to hell. At the moment he clicks send, a sinister aura envelops the fish. The customer service of this carp is ultra fast. Wang Li doesn't even have time to cross the street before being turned into pate by a truck that appeared out of nowhere. It is the birth of the legend of the black carp. But if you think the bully's story ended on the asphalt, get ready. His afterlife is even stranger. Now we find Wang Li in a kind of limbo. He is sitting in a chair, maintaining his tough guy pose, even though he is dead. He complains about the driver, complains about technology, but reveals a bizarre secret. He didn't steal the money to spend on himself. He did it to buy food for a stray cat named Dad. Yes, the villain was a misunderstood pet dad. But the black carp does not accept returns or cute excuses. Before he can finish his redemption monologue, a clicking sound echoes. He is simply erased from existence. Welcome to the prestigious big university. The father, yes, that's the name, don't ask me anything. The atmosphere on campus is wonderful, and not because of the classes. It's because the school jerk, a guy named Wang Li, finally kicked the bucket in a car accident. While everyone celebrates the guy's death like it's a national holiday, our hero Shang Tao is having an internal meltdown. Why? Because just yesterday, he wished that this guy would die. He tries to maintain his good guy facade, but inside he is jumping for joy. The problem is that he starts to suspect that the internet chain about a koi fish that grants wishes might not just be a computer virus. But was it a coincidence? Or has our boy just received a version of Death Note in aquatic form? Shang Tao decides that if he is the new master of fate, he needs to test the limits of this little fish. And what is the first thing a young university student with no money in his pocket asks for? World peace? The cure for diseases? Obviously not. He asks for 100 million in his account. Because being a god is good, but being a rich god is even better. He sends the wish via his cell phone and waits for the miracle. Meanwhile, crows fly by, making him feel like the biggest fool in the world. He was ready to curse the fish with every name and return to his mediocre life, until the phone vibrates. Get ready for the bank statement. The scam or the miracle is coming in strong. Ding, the sweetest sound a human can hear. A transfer of 100 million wanas appeared in the guy's account. He rushes to the nearest ATM, sweating cold. He thinks the bank will arrest him at any moment. But there it is. The little happy paper confirms that he is now a multi-millionaire. Instead of investing in stocks or buying an island, he decides that his new life mission is to be the judge, jury, and executioner of the internet. He sees a news story about a miner who committed a barbaric crime. Instead of letting the slow justice take its course, he decides that the Pesico needs to lend a helping hand. The problem with playing God is that you forget that the devil also likes to have fun. Chanchtol becomes the crusader of Wi-Fi. He starts wishing for terrible punishments for all kinds of social scum. Influencers who mistreat animals, subway harassers. Everyone goes down in a very painful way. He feels on top of the world, dancing between news and tragedies, as if he were in a Disney musical. But arrogance goes to his head when he decides to celebrate the death of an entire family in an accident, thinking that the audience would love his honesty. The internet turns against him. The college chat starts to think he is a psychopath, which, let's face it, they are not wrong. Offended because no one understands his brilliance, he decides to take a break from his hero career and focus on something more carnal: money. He already has power too, now he just needs the hottest girl on campus. Our protagonist goes out to spend his millions on street food. because you can take the man out of poverty, but it doesn't take away his taste for skewers. That's when he spots the goddess of the university, Jim Baobao. The woman is so beautiful that it makes Zhengguo's nose bleed like a fountain. He realizes that despite all the money, she would never look at a guy like him. But then he remembers, hey, I have a demon fish on my phone. Without a shred of morality left, he makes the wish. He wants the beauty from the field to fall madly in love with him. Is love in the air, or is it just the scent of mystical manipulation? The next day, the miracle happens in front of the entire college. With mouths agape, Jim Baobao ignores all the handsome guys and goes straight into the arms of our protagonist, calling him my dear. The kiss is cinematic, but if you look closely, her eyes seem to be in a trance. Changetal doesn't care about consent or reality. He is living a dream. They end the night in a luxury hotel. As he looks over the city from above, completely naked and feeling like the king of the world, reality sinks in. He realizes that with the fish, the whole world is his playground. But while he celebrates his rise, the shadow of the fish below him seems increasingly sinister, as if it is just waiting for its moment to collect the soul. The next day, the guy arrives at the university in a car that costs more than the GDP of a small nation. The level of desperation among the extras is so high that they literally start fighting to see who has the honor of opening the door for him. Seriously, the guys are throwing punches over an unpaid doorman position. And what does our hero think of this? He looks down with that smirk of someone who has never washed a dish in his life, calling everyone poor scum. He is about to discover that money doesn't buy everything, especially education. Ching gets out of the car, accompanied by a rising star because of course he doesn't hang out with mortals. To show how generous he is, he starts tossing money in the air like confetti and tells the crowd to gather the crumbs off the ground. It's the peak of humiliation until the girl of order appears. A little blonde with plenty of morals decides to give our protagonist a reality check. She shouts that college is a place to study, not to flaunt, who only knows how to solve problems with money. Offers her a blank check to disappear. The response? A slap in the face so well executed that the sound must have echoed in another province. His shock is priceless. Not even my father ever hit me because he is a champion. There's always a first time, humiliated and beaten by a commoner. At home, Shang is furious. He can't accept that he was slapped and decides to take out his anger on the internet. He finds a mystical post from someone named Koi, makes a wish worthy of a second-rate villain, to turn the girl into a 15-year-old old lady. But destiny is ironic. The wish fails because the worth of his wish is insufficient. His phone starts freezing with error messages. He freaks out, thinking even the phone is bullying him. That's when things get weird. He receives a message from a stranger named Koi, with a list of tasks. Like a real-life RPG, the difficulties range from easy to hard. Being the genius he is, he ignores it all. What nonsense is this? I have time for these trivialities. Spoiler alert, the system does not accept no as an answer. The price of ignorance is quite high. While the timer on his phone runs, Jenga is chilling, enjoying his cold soda. He ignores the warnings until the time hits 0. And you know what happens? A shot. Yes, a sniper from across the street blows up the soda can in his hand. If that isn't motivation to work, I don't know what is. The next message is clear. If you refuse again, the next one goes to your head. Desperation hits hard. The first task? Easy. Expel a stray cat from the building. Seems simple, right? Shang grabs a baseball bat and goes hunting for the kitty. What was supposed to be a silly task turns into a psychological trauma. What Shang didn't realize is that he just signed a contract with the devil. The tasks will only get worse. The cat ends up getting run over while Shang was chasing it. The blood splatters directly on his face. Welcome to reality, heir. From there, his life becomes a hell. The missions keep coming. Expel dancers from a plaza, beat up package thieves, even discipline elementary school children. With each completed task, Shang returns home more broken. He is covered in bruises and his soul is in tatters. He tries to wish for the system to stop sending missions, but the system is relentless. He is no longer the master of his own life. He has become a luxury errand boy for a sadistic entity that hides behind a fish emoji. But if you think hitting a child was the limit, just wait and see who the next target is on the system's blacklist. The new mission is of normal difficulty. Attack a guy named Gao Rileng at midnight. Shang is at his breaking point. He ambushes the guy in an alley and brings the pain. The scene is pathetic. He swears he will find this Koi and end this. But the end of this chapter brings a chilling detail. As Chang suffers, we see an orange cat, the same one he chased, watching everything. The author gives a sinister warning. Cats record everything in their hearts. If they like you, they will get attached. But, coming from this system, that attachment feels more like a death sentence. Who is Gao Hilong and why does the system want him dead? And, more importantly, who is really behind the phone? We begin with that classic nightmare every protagonist in a low-tier mafia needs to have. A not-so-friendly red goo invades the room. Black hands emerge from the walls. A creature that looks like it stepped out of a TikTok horror filter appears to say hello. Our hero wakes up in basic panic. He is cold sweating and swearing it was just a dream. But, as nothing comes for free, the wound in his stomach starts to hurt. This reminds him that his reality is far more problematic than a shadow monster. What really keeps him awake is not the nightmare but what he has been writing in his notebook. The young man decides to review his diary. Look, his phase of arrogance was enough to make any rebellious teenager envious. He noted every desire and every task he completed for someone named Koi. He feels like trash for having wasted time wanting only money and girls. But the situation is deeper than that. He remembers killing someone named Wang Li and notices a bizarre pattern. The selfish desires he was making were identical to the punishment tasks he received afterward. In other words, he was basically a supernatural revenge uber. He beat up bullies and disciplined annoying neighbors. He thought he was on top of the world. But now he realizes he is not the only one playing this game. The next name on his list is a much bigger fish. Our training genie starts researching Gao Hilang. He is the leader of a gang in a city where the government seems to have taken permanent vacation. He theorizes that the COI is actually a system created by some evil capitalist emperor. Because of course, if something is going wrong, capitalism is to blame. He believes that the tasks he fulfills are in fact the wishes of others. It is an endless cycle of an eye for an eye, where everyone loses except the owner of the aquarium. Determined to break the system, he decides to conduct a test that challenges the laws of biology and common sense. He uncovers a childhood trauma worthy of a Mexican soap opera. His father shouts that he is a bastard, and his mother cries. Back then, a DNA test proved that he was the biological son. His foolproof plan, to ask to become the biological son of the richest man in the world. He thinks, if the COI is just human technology, it cannot change my DNA, right? Wrong. The cell phone lights up. The wish is granted. A smiling entity appears in the shadows just to confirm that our hero's logic is a joke to the gods. And wouldn't you know it, the lucky break worked. The next day, the whole world wakes up to shocking news. The television announces the richest man in the world, a guy named Bill Gates. Any resemblance is purely coincidental. He has finally found his lost son. And guess who it is? That's right, our protagonist, who is now called Shang Tao. A limousine pulls up in front of him. Stewards bow down. He is taken to a luxury hotel, as if it is the most normal thing in the world to have his genetic code rewritten by a magical fish. During the night, he is now face to face with his billionaire dad. The conversation will be anything but normal. The billionaire dad is an eccentric figure, demanding 200-pound groupers just to eat the best part and give the rest to the dog. The protagonist tries to understand if the old man has been brainwashed, or if he is part of the Illuminati. He concludes that being rich is too good to question too much. He decides to enjoy the easy life temporarily, but he has a wicked plan in mind. He will use his father's influence and money to destroy the koi. Yes, he wants to bite the hand that turned him into a billionaire heir. He just needs the DNA report to prove the fraud. Little does he know that, in this world, the truth is what the fish decides it is. We begin our story with what seems to be the most foolproof plan in the world, or the start of an ideological falsity crime worthy of a low-budget film. Our protagonist, whom we will call the opportunist, is in a hospital. He demands absolute secrecy. The reason? He secretly collected the DNA of none other than a billionaire in the style of Bill Gates, because he wants to prove that he is not the lost heir. Furthermore, he wants to get rid of something called the Koi Pact. But before he can celebrate his jackpot scheme, Daddy decides to call. The phone rings. It's the billionaire dad, a man who clearly spends more on hairspray for his monumental pompadour than you spend on rent. He invites his son for a casual outing. When I say casual, I mean a giant helicopter landing in the middle of the city. Riding an Uber is for mere mortals. They fly to a construction site that makes the Empress Day look like a doghouse. The opportunist is there, trying to act natural. The old man shines brighter than the sun, ready to reveal his big life project. Prepare the tissues, because this billionaire's plan is so noble that it becomes suspicious. The billionaire spreads his arms and announces this will be the largest resort, orphanage, and university in the world. Yes, he wants to end poverty. He will use the power of education and luxury for abandoned children. The man is so saintly that the aura of mana literally creates a divine glow and petals around him. He says he wants to compensate for social injustices with his fortune. The opportunist is in shock. He expected a greedy old man, but he found Gandhi himself with a blonde pompadour. He even starts to think, do I really want to con this guy? But fate loves irony. A stumble will change everything. As they walk, our protagonist trips over a stone. He is the biggest enemy of the clumsy heirs. The billionaire, with the reflexes of a retired ninja, saves the young man but ends up scratching his own hand. And here comes the drama. The old man acts as if he has taken a bullet to protect his son. He says with a gentle smile that he will always protect him. The opportunist, who only had an alcoholic and troubled father in real life, feels his heart melt. Finally, he has found the father of his dreams. The light of the old man's kindness is so strong that he almost forgets he is an imposter. Too bad the koi doesn't care about paternal feelings. At night, the atmosphere becomes like a margarine commercial. The opportunist phone shines with a message from the koi. It seems to be a wish system, with a rather sadistic sense of humor. The mission, destroy the orphanage. Yes, the system wants him to burn the dream of the man who just called him son. He tries to refuse. He tries to change the mission. He shouts at the phone as if the device is to blame. But the koi is blunt and straightforward. Either the building burns or you take a bullet to the face. The timer is ticking. Our hero's morality is about to be thrown in the trash at record speed. It's time to see how quickly someone can become a villain to save their own skin. Desperation sets in. The opportunist begins to use that wonderful logic of desperate people. Oh, he is rich, he can rebuild. He remembers that the fire suppression system hasn't been installed yet. What convenience, right, writer? He decides it's better to be a living arsonist than an ethical corpse. In no time, the building that would have been the future for thousands of children turns into a giant torch. The billionaire watches his dream turn to ashes and collapse on the ruined ground. And our protagonist stands there, looking as if he just realized he sold his soul. He watches the chaos he caused. The plan to be the heir continues, but the price just went up, a lot. How will he look his father in the face now? And what will Kwai ask next? Don't go away, the story has just begun. Things got serious, folks. The atmosphere in the hospital corridor is pure tension. When the doctor finally exits the emergency room, our protagonist and the family maid are desperate for news. The diagnosis is a bucket of cold water. Old Mar's condition is stable. However, his organs are in shambles. The reason? Years of exposure to radiation in the heavy nuclear fuel market. The young man is in shock. After all, he had no idea that his father dealt with such dangerous things. It's that moment when you realize you know nothing about who raised you. But what is truly killing the old man is not the radiation. It is an unfinished dream. Upon entering the room, the young man tries to keep his composure, but the scene is sad. The master, with his iconic mustache and blonde pompadour, wants nothing to do with money or the reconstruction of the orphanage that burned down. To him, money is garbage. What he lacks now is time. He feels his body is giving up. He fears he won't be able to achieve his great dream before the end. With the look of someone who has accepted their fate, he asks to be left alone. This leaves a huge void in the chest of our protagonist. He feels like the most useless being in the world. But regret hits hard. He is willing to make a pact with the devil himself to change this. The weight of guilt is a drug, right? The young man begins to hate himself for everything that has happened. But suddenly, a crazy idea pops into his mind. He decides to appeal to the Koi, a mysterious entity that seems to grant wishes, but charges a bizarre price. He accepts any task, any sacrifice, as long as he can heal the old man. But, as he plans the impossible, he discovers that the maid accompanying him is not who he thought. In the hallway, the housekeeper gets straight to the point. It is time for him to stop calling the master sir and start calling him dad. The young man feels unworthy, but the girl changes her expression in an instant. She says she has more important things to resolve, like investigating who really set fire to the orphanage. The protagonist tries to play protector, saying that she is just a maid, and that the police will handle it. Little did he know the mistake he was making. With a look that could scare even Batman, she warns, "Being a maid is just my robot. Prepare your hearts. The transformation that follows will blow your minds. Forget the sweet version." In an epic move, she rips her uniform and reveals a luxurious red suit underneath. Meet Gohai Juki Anshil. This is either an exercise or not. The second pillar of power of the whole sea empire. The woman is a force of nature. She makes a military promise. In 12 hours, she will find the culprit of the fire. Her method? Let's say it involves ripping the guts out of the unfortunate and using them as rope. Our protagonist stands there, frozen. He doesn't know if he feels fear or admiration for this woman who just turned the game. My friends, anyone with a round hole feels fear, and his is in the line of fire. The clock is ticking and the hunt has begun. Who will have the courage to face themselves or act cold-bloodedly? Night falls over the city. Amid the rubble of a building, a figure walks with precise steps. This is Gia Ju Qianchu, and she is not here for a stroll. As she analyzes the location, she notices something others have overlooked: footprints that belong to neither of the workers. With a sharp reasoning, she begins to connect the dots. The place was closed. The only people authorized were the old Master Ma and the young master. Since the sole pattern doesn't match the old man's shoes, her verdict is immediate. The young master was here alone. After Master Ma had the accident in the hospital, the atmosphere has been heavy but in the wrong way. Master Ma, with his not-so-discreet appearance, reveals that Juken Sale is the best among all the orphans he adopted. She is not just an employee, she is a legend who has even helped the national police with a 100% success rate. And Master Ma is not kidding around. He swears that when he catches the culprit of the fire, he will hang him upside down and force-feed the unfortunate man Coca-Cola through his nose, until he can't take it anymore. The protagonist, who is listening to everything, feels the cold sweat running down. He knows the detective is on his tail. Grandpa's punishment will be much worse than a simple scolding. Desperate, he runs to the bathroom. He tries to come up with a plan, but what happened there only makes things worse. Hidden in the bathroom, the young man hears the guards talking about Master Ma's cruelty. They recall a case in which the master filled an enemy with gel balls that swell in the body until the person explodes. That's the limit. The protagonist decides to use his last resort. A mysterious app called Koi grants a desperate wish. Please stop Jukiancho from investigating the fire. What he didn't expect is that the request would be accepted in a dark way. The sky cracks with a lightning bolt. There, a masked killer appears, ready to serve. The young man thinks he solved the problem, but Master Ma drops the bomb. The detective is so persistent that the only way to stop her is to kill her. Panic hits hard. His wish may have just signed the girl's death sentence. The young master runs desperately to try to stop the killer, but it is already too late. The intruder attacks Jukiancho with a blade from the shadows, but that is when the game changes. She is not just a brilliant mind, she is a former world champion in free fighting, with superhuman reflexes. She dodges and delivers a kick that sends the aggressor flying. The assassin even tries to get up, but Qiang reveals her true form. Forget the fragile appearance. She is also a former world champion in bodybuilding. Her clothes rip as her muscles bulge, revealing devastating strength. She stares down the enemy and warns. He was the first to survive a hit from her, but he certainly won't get a second chance. Our dear Iron Maiden starts the day thinking she is Saitama in a skirt. She decides that a 180-kilogram punch is enough to send this weirdo straight to the hospital or the morgue. She lands the hit perfectly. The guy flies as if he was hit by a truck. She is already there, delivering that classic villain monologue. You picked the wrong opponent, blah blah blah. She really thought the fight was over and that the interrogation would be easy. Spoiler. In the world of manhwas, if the enemy hasn't turned to smoke, he is still a problem. But it seems that our villain has a peculiar taste for pain. If you thought the punch would knock the guy out, you were dead wrong. The crazy guy gets up laughing as if he just won a winning ticket to the asylum. Not only is he alive, but he is loving the surprise. He starts calling the fight deep love. And let me tell you, if this is love, I prefer to stay single. The rhythm changes completely. What was a hunt turns into a bizarre dance. He dodges everything and begins to counterattack. The speed surprises our fighter, clearly unprepared for this. She finally realizes she is not dealing with an ordinary thug, but a complete psychopath. When confidence runs out, desperation pays a visit. Things get ugly. The pain lover decides to return the affection. He hits our protagonist, leaving her on the ground, spitting blood. He leans in close just to say he has reached ecstasy. What a nice guy, right? As she fades away, his phone rings. It's a message from someone named Koi, confirming that the task has been completed. The guy celebrates as if he scored a goal in the championship final. He thanks for the sexual pleasure and the wonderful woman. To top off this crazy combo, he also warns that the next target is his own older brother. A united family is something else, right? While the villain celebrates, someone is about to get the scare of their life. We cut to our secondary hero. He is running, searching for the false maid. He is very worried. He's walking in complete darkness at a construction site. A perfect setting for a horror movie. He sees a hooded figure and thinks it's just a worker. The tension rises. He keeps calling for the girl until bang, he steps on something. At first he prays it's a fish, but the reality is much more traumatic. He trips over the lifeless body of our fighter. The scream he lets out could be heard on another continent. But what goes through the mind of someone about to leave this world? We now enter the last-minute dramatic flashback mode. Our fighter, now on the ground, begins to reflect on her life. She admits she was careless. She should have killed the psychopath right away. We discover she never had time to be a regular girl. She was trained from a young age to be a weapon. Her biggest regret is not being able to take care of her master anymore. She starts to cry. She wishes for just one simple thing, to be able to call her master dad at least once. Is this really the end of the line for her, or is the drama just beginning? Only the next chapter will tell. The story begins in that place every unlucky protagonist knows well, the interrogation room. Our young hero here looks like he has seen a ghost, or worse, the price of gasoline. The detective clearly hasn't had coffee in 3 days. Do you want to know what he saw? The answer is a horror movie feast. A girl sliced into more than 50 pieces. But hold on, it gets worse. When asked how he knew this, the boy delivers the most epic line ever. He says it was a magic koi fish from the internet that told him. And it seems someone has been spending too much time in obscure forums. The detective looks at him with that expression of, I'm not paid enough to deal with schizophrenics. The detective leaves the room. He probably intends to find a psychiatric hospital. He meets his partner. They start talking about the city's real problem, the Gao brothers. The spotlight is on the youngest, a premium-level psychopath named Gao Shin-chan. This guy is a ghost. He carries over 20 deaths on his hands, and he has a very specific fetish. He likes to use a rusty knife to dismember people. Why a dull knife? Because according to the detective, this guy is a pervert who enjoys the effort of hitting the same spot multiple times until the bone gives in. What a lovely person. Unlike our protagonist, Shang Tao, he doesn't look like someone who can take a punch. The police decide he is too useless to be the killer. They decide to let him go. Little does Shang Tao know, leaving the precinct is just the beginning of a bizarre identity crisis. As soon as he steps out of the precinct, Xingguo is met by a desperate butler. The reason? His father, the tycoon of the Mar Empire, had a fit upon learning about the girl's death in the hospital. Xingguo decides this is the perfect moment to be honest, or as crazy as possible. He yells in the old man's face that he is not his son. He claims he was an orphan who made a wish on that damned koi fish to become the heir of the richest family in the city. The old man, who has a respectable mustache and the patience of a saint, reveals that he has already done DNA tests. But the boy insists that the koi fish is so powerful it must have altered even the lab results. The atmosphere grows tense when they realize that the koi fish is not just an urban legend. It is a real force testing their skills, destroying everything around. The enemy finally has a name. The old tycoon is about to pass the baton in an unusual way. He starts coughing blood. In Manhwa, this is the standard sign that the character is dying, or very motivated. Instead of feeling sad, he feels happy to finally know who the enemy is. The koi fish he names Cheng Tao as the official successor of the Sea Empire. Furthermore, he gives him a blank check to use the family fortune to destroy this mystical fish. If you think Cheng Tao's revenge would be something elegant, prepare yourself. His plan for the mentor behind the koi involves binding cement and a rather traumatic situation for the villain's digestive system. The old man is so impressed by this psychopathic energy that he declares Cheng Tao the most fearsome dominant being in the world. Well, from a suspect of murder to having grotesque revenge plans in less than an instant. Now, with the money of an empire and a bizarrely specific plan, the hunt for the Gao brothers has begun. Who will be the next victim of this deadly internet chain? If you thought that to deal with supernatural entities you needed magic or ancient rituals, congratulations, you are poor. Our protagonist is here trying to figure out how to become a dominating being. His mentor, a master with the most questionable hairstyle in the history of manuals, has the ultimate solution: the power of money. The simple plan? Create an amusement park so decadent that it would make any billionaire blush. We are talking about wine pools, meat feasts, and beautiful women. The complete package of sin. And look at our hero's face. Just hearing the word women made his brain melt. He became a complete degenerate. Dignity is nowhere to be found. But hold on, the plan is much dirtier than it seems. The old master, who clearly is not all there, explains that they don't need to build anything real. They just need to film a leaked clip, pay the influencers, and let the internet do the dirty work of spreading the gossip. The goal? Attract other seekers to their control. While the protagonist celebrates the genius of the plan, the mentor decides that the best way to end the conversation is by coughing up a troubling amount of blood. He shoves the young man out of there with the delicacy of a kick, making it clear that despite dying he still runs this mess. Our young hero, on the other hand, can only think about how badass the old man is, as he prepares for the next phase, the torture. And if you think he's just a cute face, just wait to see what he has prepared in the basement. The plan for the feast of wine and meat went viral faster than a dance video. Our protagonist is now playing the system's game like a professional. The real entertainment starts now. He descends to the dampest dungeon he could find. He wants to have a chat with a guy named Zeng from Dan. The guy is there, tied up, gagged, and wearing questionable torture underwear, probably wondering at what point in life he went so wrong. The mood changes completely. The fool who drooled over women has disappeared. In his place is a sadist who seems to have stepped straight out of a low-budget horror movie. His interrogation method? Well, let's just say it involves some hairy, hungry guests. Prepare your stomach. Our hero decided to use the classic rat bucket method. He explains with an eerie calm: a metal bucket, a rat trapped inside, and fire on top. The rat, desperate from the heat, only has one way to escape. That way is to burrow through the body of the unfortunate soul in the chair. It's the kind of fun you don't find at Disney. The protagonist stares at the victim with a pure psychopath's gaze. Who would have thought our boy had such a creative side? As a youth he plays executioner. The real monster is watching from outside, from afar. The old master, now in a wheelchair, shows that he has not an ounce of patience for his pupil's kindness. The protagonist wanted to release the prisoner after the interrogation. Very naive, says the old man. He gives the direct order: kill the guy and burn the body. And to ensure the job is done right, he summons Basai Yaming, a perfect execution machine that can process 8,000 orders at once. The old man hopes. More blood. The situation is getting ugly. It becomes clear that the protagonist is just a piece on a much bloodier board, with a perfect killer in play and a mentor on his last legs. Who will really survive this power game? The next chapter. It promises to be an open-air necropolis. We start with that cozy dungeon vibe. Our beloved protagonist, clearly sleep-deprived for 3 days and using more eye drops than usual, is interrogating a prisoner. The assistant tries to make that formal introduction, citing the culprit's name and profession. But the young master has no time for resumes. He wants to know one thing: the so-called koi. He looks at the psychopath's face. Either the prisoner talks, or things will get very ugly or very ridiculous. The prisoner, all tough, says he won't spill the beans even for a girl in a stylish jacket. A fatal mistake. The young master pulls out a premium tattoo ink and a blowtorch. The result? A piece of art worthy of a 5-year-old, right on the guy's belly. The prisoner even tries to act tough, saying the koi will erase the tattoo in a day. But then comes the masterstroke: digital cancellation. Our protagonist takes a beautified photo and threatens to post it online. After all, the koi might erase scars, but nothing survives the eternal screenshot and the judgment of social media. Defeated by the fear of becoming a meme, the prisoner finally decides to spill the beans about the series' darkest secret. The prisoner starts singing like a canary. He reveals that the koi changes color. It starts white, turns red, and finally reaches the legendary level: the black koi. According to him, the mystery vibe was great until reality decides to punch our protagonist in the face. While the young master processes the idea of a suicide mission, his butler panics. He warns that Master Mar, the blonde mentor with dubious hair, is kicking the bucket in the hospital. The diagnosis? Multiple organ failure. Our protagonist runs to the hospital. He enters that dramatic mode of "I am a failure, don't die, I need you." There are tears, there's teeth grinding. It's the complete combo of hospital depression. But hold on, his mourning lasts shorter than the battery life of an old iPhone. Because a brilliant and selfish idea just popped up amid the tears. The light bulb goes off. What if I use the koi to heal Master Mar? Sounds noble, right? A hero saving his master. But not really. The true plan of our dear sociopath is to put all the responsibility of this extremely difficult mission on the shoulders of the old dying man. He already pulls out his cell phone. He discovers that being chosen isn't as easy as it seems. He tries to make a wish, but the system gives that classic error of insufficient funds. It seems that even in the supernatural world, debt collectors don't forgive. The guy gets so furious that he throws his cell phone like it's a boomerang. The drama? He is a second-generation heir, basically a spoiled kid who thinks the world revolves around him. He wanted to save the famous Master Mar, but realizes his wishes are in the trash. This happens because all he has done are low-level missions, like enrolling the neighbor's grandson in daycare, or taking models to a party. Yeah, he wanted to be an epic hero, but he acted like an intern. But don't worry, because when you're at rock bottom, the system always finds a way to throw you a rope or an anchor. While he laments, staring at his notebook about the black carp, his phone beeps. It's a new message from the strangest app you've ever seen. An image appears of a black and red carp that looks like it came straight out of a nightmare from someone who ate bad sushi. The app offers 3 levels: easy, normal, and the extreme nightmare level. And guess which one our genius decides to consider? The extreme level, of course. The risk? Just a 50% chance of dying. It's that old math. Either you die or you don't die, 50-50. Chantal starts weighing the options on an imaginary scale. On one side, the fear of becoming ham. On the other, the debt he owes to Master Mar, who is in the hospital looking like a zombie movie extra. He accepts the mission. The ritual is worthy of low-budget horror films. 3 in the morning, empty road, candle lit, and walking barefoot with eyes closed. Very safe, right? In the middle of the process, he begins to feel that something is wrong. The horror movie vibe hits hard. He realizes that the black carp is not just a little evil, it's something much more rotten. To complete the possessed look, one of his eyes turns red. Congratulations, Chang. Now you are officially a weirdo. Cheer up. But before possibly kicking the bucket, he decides he needs to leave a legacy, and in the most narcissistic way possible. Time is running out. Our possessed playboy is in a panic. He looks at his notebook and thinks, if I die, someone needs to continue my research. But it can't just be anyone. It has to be someone tall, strong, good-looking, and with the face of a shonen manga protagonist. Yes, he wants a worthy replacement for his own arrogance. He starts typing frantically, a complex wish, a security mechanism that delivers the notebook to the perfect hero as soon as he dies. He puts all his hope in his fingers. He hits send, and drumroll please, error, insufficient balance. Again. Yes, my friends, the system doesn't care about your plan B if you have no credit in the market. Now he is in the middle of a death ritual. 100 points with a red eye and a plan that went wrong. Will he survive, or will the next chapter be about the burial? You'll have to watch to find out. Meet our genius of the moment, Shantao. The guy is so desperate that he decided to write a will in the middle of the street. But there is one detail. He is trying to make a request to an entity called Black Carp. Shang Tsung prepares for what seems to be a high-risk ritual. His plan is brilliant. Just not. The regulation says he needs to be barefoot. So, what does our hero do? He puts on a bulletproof vest and a military helmet. Because of course, if an ancestral demon tries to take you, a fiber helmet will solve everything, right? He lights a candle on his phone and starts walking down the deserted highway. He even tries to convince himself that walking barefoot on asphalt is his biggest problem. Keep focused on saving some guy named Master Mar. But the solid asphalt is about to turn into something much more viscous. What was an uncomfortable walk turns into an absolute nightmare when Shang feels something sticky on his feet. In the blink of an eye, the highway disappears. He finds himself stuck in a swamp of blood and dead fish. The smell is so rotten that he almost loses his lunch right there. And if you think dead fish is bad, just wait to see the neighbors. Bizarre shadows with ear-to-ear smiles begin to emerge from the darkness. Shang tries to keep his eyes closed and the candle lit. He prays that this is just a cheap hallucination. Spoiler, it isn't. The problem with closing your eyes is that you can't see who is coming to dinner. Panic takes over when Shang hears familiar voices calling his name. He tries to convince himself that it's all in his head. But when he looks back, he is face to face with a distorted version of someone he knows named Wang Li. Before he can apologize for any old debts, things get worse. Thousands of shadows join in the sky. They form a colossal silhouette of a dragon or an abyssal creature made of pure despair. The bulletproof vest and the helmet now seem as useful as an umbrella in a hurricane. Shang realizes too late that he has entered a game where the rules were made for him to lose. When the monster decides to attack, there is no game over. Shadowy hands burst forth from the blood and grab a Cheng, pulling him into the depths. He screams for help, but the only thing that responds is the sight of a gigantic black carp emerging from the crimson abyss. Shang's eyes lose their color. His soul seems to be drained as he stares into the void. That desire to be buried by someone cautious. It seems he will need to use the coupon right now. The hero of our story has just become supernatural fish food. And the worst part, he asked for this himself. But was his wish granted? Literally? In the real world, a mysterious man, and look, very cautious, arrives at the scene. He finds the lifeless body of Chang and complains about the long trip just to bury a corpse. Meanwhile, in the beyond, or in his last thoughts, Chang reflects on his mediocre life. He admits that the money and power of the carp have corrupted him. It made him forget who he really was. In the end, he tries to remember his first wish, the one made in childhood, before all the greed. He just wanted his father to stop beating his mother. A sad note for such a bizarre end. The protagonist has died, but the story of the black carp is just beginning. Who will be the next fool to think they can outwit fate with a wish? Stay tuned. After making sure the trash won't float, he calmly sits in front of a campfire. Then, he starts reading a notebook. But it's not poetry, okay? It's information about something called black koi. If you thought he was just an unlucky garbage collector, congratulations. You were totally wrong. To understand why this guy cleans up after others, we need to talk about the open-air dump where he lives. Welcome to the city that never sleeps. This is the place that proves capitalism, when it wants, can ruin everything with desire. Built by the Leviathan Group to be a billionaire's paradise, the city was pure luxury and ostentation, until the empire collapsed, and everyone took off. What's left? A Mad Max scenario. with beautiful buildings, where security collapsed, and gangs decided it would be their new playground. Nowadays, if you don't have a gun in hand, you're probably the target. It's the kind of place where good night is replaced by the sound of a 9mm gunshot. And in this chaos, we meet the man who does the job no one wants. Meet Shaolin. He calls himself a tool, but in practice he is the official corpse collector of the area. While gangs kill each other over territory, Shaolin collects what remains. This says a lot about the young man's mental health. Everything was going well in his routine of hauling corpses until a generic extra with a hero complex decides to stop his truck. The guy was the body of a member of the arms gang seeking revenge, since the deceased killed his brother. Shaolin, with the patience of someone who has seen 1,000 fools like this, just wants to continue his journey. But the tough guy decides it's a good idea to grab the wrong guy's collar. The problem with messing with the garbage collector is that you might end up as trash. The tough guy thought he was at an advantage because he brought his friends, but the party ends when Yahello, the leader of the Stray Dogs gang, shows up to deliver a reality check. He basically asks if these guys have a death wish, because that simple corpse collector is none other than Shaolin, the living legend known as the Demon of Corpses. The guy once simply crushed 30 men by himself. That was just to protect a body he needed to bury. Moral of the story: if Shaolin is passing by with the hearse, you clear the way and apologize for breathing the same air as him. The bully, of course, almost wets his pants. He runs away, begging for forgiveness for his blindness. But not everything is about fighting and fame. Shaolin has a very noble reason for taking this dirty job. Shaolin and Gao Helang are friends, if that even exists in this place. Shaolin reveals that she needs a real ID, something impossible to get legally. She wants to take her sick sister Chayu out of the city to get medical treatment. It's the classic tough guy with a soft heart for family. After a productive day burying over 50 bodies, look at that efficiency. Shaolin is going to get paid, but fate loves to mess with him. The envoy from the feared money gang is waiting for him with a smile that screams, "I'm going to screw you over." The proposal he receives puts Shaolin's loyalty on a deadly scale. The leader of the money gang is not there to chit-chat. He puts exactly what Shaolin wants on the table, a legitimate ID card for his sister. The price is simple. Shaolin just has to bring his only ally, Gao Helang, and lead him straight into an ambush, alone. It's the devil's perfect proposal. Save your sister and condemn your friend, or keep your honor and watch your sister die in this dump. The author leaves a note: the previous hero is dead. Shaolin is the new owner of the story, being much smarter and more dangerous. Will the corpse devil sell his soul to save the only person he loves? The game is just beginning. The story starts with our protagonist, a guy who clearly hasn't slept in 3 days. He arrives home in the city wide awake. He is greeted by a chattering parrot that has more energy than he does. But the mood soon crumbles. The reason? The classic sick little sister who can't even get out of bed. Xiaomi Yu is there, all pale, apologizing for being a burden. Meanwhile, the brother plays the role of "let me handle everything." He promises that he will cure her, and that they will escape this horrible place to live a normal life. It's that cute moment that we know only serves to go wrong right after. After all, promises in manuals are basically invitations to disaster. But to save his sister, he will have to get his hands dirty. And it's not just a little. We enter flashback mode. We discover that our hero, affectionately known as the Corpse Collector, accepted a dangerous deal. He needs to lure a big shot named Gulrulong into an ambush. We return to the present. Gulrulong is a guy who dresses as if he's going to both a wedding and a funeral at the same time. He is surrounded by a bunch of masked henchmen. The party is led by a guy with a bright yellow mohawk. He defies the laws of gravity and common sense. The mohawk is all strutting. He believes that the Corpse Collector truly betrayed his ally in exchange for his sister's identity. He even tosses the ID card as if it were a consolation prize. The problem is that in Sleepless City, no one is caught off guard. The spell is about to backfire on the wizard. The mohawk gives the execution order. But the Corpse Collector decides that today is not a good day to die. He starts delivering kicks that would make any taekwondo master weep with envy. In the meantime, Gulrulong doesn't even move. He just observes the poor quality of the attackers. The big reveal: it was all just a plan set up by the two in a shady little bar. They knew that the Mohawk and his gang of mutts would try to spring a trap. Suddenly, the ambush is invaded by another gang. Axes appear even from the sewer to settle the score. The Mohawk realizes too late that he was not the hunter, but rather the prey who fell into his own game. With victory guaranteed and his sister's card in hand, everything seems to be heading towards a happy ending. But it's not. The collector bids farewell to Gulrulong. He invites him for a future drink, which in script language probably means we will never see each other again. Our protagonist walks away all hopeful. He looks at the sky and thinks about how life will be amazing now that he has the documents. He is so distracted by his own optimism that he doesn't notice a random psycho, with eyes that say he has overdosed on coffee, emerging from the shadows with a gun. Without any warning or villainous monologue, the guy simply pulls the trigger. The shot hits the collector squarely in the chest. Blood spreads, destroying any chance of a calm walk home. The shooter laughs like a psychopath. He thinks he killed a legend, but he forgot one detail. Legends don't die so easily. The shooter celebrates, shouting for everyone to see that the collector demon bleeds like any human. He calls the rest of the henchmen to finish the job, but the collector of corpses goes into full berserker mode. Even with a hole in his chest, he becomes a hurricane of blood. He tears off limbs and paints the walls red with the faces of his enemies. It's absolute carnage. However, just as he is about to finish the cleanup, the villain plays the lowest card possible. He appears holding Xiao Yu, yes, the sick sister who could barely move, with a knife at her throat. We start with these two crime geniuses. They clearly skipped basic chase classes. They are trying to follow our protagonist, Xiaolun, but the guy is slipperier than soap in the shower. Xiaolun uses anti-tracking techniques, which are really just turning the corner and disappearing. Thus, he leaves the two fools talking to themselves in the alley. They complain that he is too cautious. They can't follow the guy. Then, they decide to resort to the dog's sense of smell at home. Yes, the plan is literally to use the scent to find the collector of corpses' hideout. He finds a sick ghost. Actually, it's just Xiao Yu, our hero's sister. She serves only to be his weak point. Shaylin arrives all bloody, probably from another poorly paid job. He comes face to face with his sister being used as a human shield. The villain, who loves a monologue, orders his thugs to finish off the collector. But then comes the Oscar-worthy moment of a Mexican soap opera. Xiao Yu decides she no longer wants to be a burden. Out of nowhere, she throws herself onto the villain's knife. That's right, she does the dirty work for him. Now that the sister has become a human kebab, the protagonist's beast mode is about to get a free upgrade. If there's rain, there's epic fighting. Kylan finally decides that being nice is no longer the best strategy. He starts an internal monologue about how he tried to live a normal life. He tries to hide the bloodthirsty beast inside him. Cliché alert. I was holding back, but now the patient's Wi-Fi has dropped. He starts throwing punches and slashing at everyone. The guy takes a bullet, takes a knife, but stays on his feet. It's as if he's had some forbidden energy drink. The thugs begin to wonder if he's even human. Meanwhile, Zalin wipes the floor with their faces. He proves that public health in the city may be poor, but his punch is top-notch. After he massacres everyone, fatigue finally hits. Fate decides to send a text message. Zalin defeats the boss, but faints soon after, next to his sister's body. He's already accepting the end, expecting to meet his parents in heaven. Then, his phone, which must have an incredible battery, beeps. It's a message from a stranger about a koi fish that grants wishes. Seriously, the guy is dying and receives a magical WhatsApp chain. With his last breath, he wishes for his sister to live healthily. And wouldn't you know it, the 4G from beyond works. The system confirms the wish's success, a time jump worthy of a cancelled series. Zalin wakes up in a hospital with his sister alive and smiling. The drama is over, but the author warns that Zalin's true story in the Sleepless City is just beginning. Get ready because the next arc promises more fighting and less logic. We start with that classic cliche every manga fan loves. The protagonist wakes up all bandaged and asks if he's still alive. Yes, Zalin, you are. But maybe not for long. His sister Xiao Yu decided to celebrate his return from the dead by squeezing his open wound. Meanwhile, the doctor outside decides it's best not to interrupt the family moment. Aunt Lan notices something strange. His hair has returned to its original color and he feels renewed. Well, it seems the resurrection shampoo really works. But what the hell happened for him to come back from the dead with a beauty upgrade? Xiaolong begins to have flashbacks of when he was about to become a corpse. The conclusion is obvious. He made a pact. He attributes his miraculous healing to the koi, an entity that seems to have come straight from a mystical aquarium. While his sister thinks this is the coolest thing ever, already imagining getting rich or gaining anime superpowers, our protagonist decides to enter the mode. Depressed philosopher. He warns that every gift from fate has a price. This one is in fact a seductive demon. Basically, he is saying there is no such thing as a free lunch, not even when you are the main character. Speaking of danger, the door opens. The doctor walks in without knocking. Goodbye you, who clearly watched too much anime. He attempts a transcendent electromagnetic flying kick. Yes, that's the name. However, he is interrupted by a 4-door cabinet called Sea Monster. This guy is not just a gym extra. He is part of the weapons gang, and he has a look that clearly says, I break bones for breakfast. Zalon, being the strategist he is, tells his sister to go outside and talk to the adults. We discover that the underworld of this city works based on cheesy nicknames. The big guy is one of the 8 legends. Meanwhile, Xuan Yu is disappointed to learn her brother's title is Stray Dog. Not wanting to be left behind, she decides her own title as Master of Martial Arts will be Anime Monkey. The dignity of this family is going down the drain, but at least they have style. As they play with nicknames, the truth about the night of the incident begins to surface. Back in the room, Zalin thanks Sea Monster for taking the blame for the shooting. He keeps his resurrection a secret, but the doctor reveals the truth. The one who really saved the day was Xiao Yu. We cut to an Oscar-worthy suffering flashback. One rainy night, where the girl carried her brother's bloody body on her back. She walked over gravel, barefoot and bleeding. She screamed, cried, and refused to let him die, hiding all that pain behind a forced smile. When he finally woke up, if you didn't feel a pang in your chest now, you are colder than the villain of this story. But the drama is short-lived. Real Danger has just sent a text message. Keelan looks at his sister with new respect. The break is over. The mood changes drastically when his phone rings. Can Anime Monkey and Stray Dog survive what's coming next? You know that saying that if you work with what you love, he will never work a day in his life. Because he is our protagonist here. He must really love barbecue. The problem is that the skewered meat this time is a human corpse. He has just completed his trenze with a 4th cleaning mission for a mysterious entity called Koi. While most people use apps to order pizza, This guy uses them to receive coordinates on where to bury bodies without getting caught. He realizes that Koi is not sending these bodies randomly. She knows he is a professional and is basically giving him personalized freelance jobs for corpse disposal. It's like Uber, only instead of a boring passenger, you carry someone who doesn't complain about the air conditioning because they're dead. But not every corpse is the same. The next body will bring a gift that could change everything. Finally, luck smiles on our favorite gravedigger. On a mission on Highway 101, he finds the body of someone named Sheen de Tal. And what was special about the corpse? A diary of secret notes about Koi herself. The guy was basically a stalker of supernatural entities. Our hero goes home. He is greeted by his sister Xiao Yu, who is joy incarnate. This is strange considering that he reeks of formaldehyde and gasoline. He shows her the notebook. He hopes the girl's privileged brain can help decipher how this wish-granting entity really works. What they discover in the notebook is a practical guide on how Koi is turning humanity into her personal playthings. Xiaomi gives a thesis-worthy summary. Koi is not just one entity. The wishes granted depend on the social status of the user. The death of the previous owner of the notebook was caused by a mission of extreme difficulty. Basically, Koi is a supernatural loan shark. She gives you what you want, but the price might be running naked in a minefield. Their theory is that Koi wants to turn humans into tools. If you think our protagonist is scared, you are wrong. He decides that if Koi can bring his sister back to life, she can also take her away again. The solution? He doesn't just want to understand the system, he wants to find Koi and kill her. Thus, the guy wants to give a game over to God. Bold, right? There's just one detail. The former owner of the notebook didn't die of natural causes. He was hunted. The protagonist reveals that Total's body was a mess. He had a bulletproof vest and a steel helmet, but he was barefoot. The guy was desperately running for his life before getting shot for refusing a mission. That's when Xiao Yu has a genius or purely crazy idea. The sniper who killed Tian Digital is still out there. Why not use our protagonist as bait? Hey, shoot me here real quick, just so I can see something. The plan is simple. He stands at the door, draws the shot, and his allies take out the shooter. What could go wrong besides him getting a third lead eye? He's ready for the risk, but a cruel doubt hangs in the air. What if the shooter isn't exactly human? While planning each angle of the apartment, calculating where the shot would come from, the mood cools. He begins to consider the possibility that the hunter sent by Koi might be something much worse than an ordinary mercenary. And guess what? He's right. In the shadows of a nearby rooftop, a sinister silhouette with glowing eyes and a smile that would give the Joker nightmares is watching everything. Things are about to get real. The day starts off in that way we love, with a 10-second countdown for a so-called wish-fulfilling mission. And if you think 10 seconds is too little time, it's because you haven't seen how fast this gang of randoms shows up. The typical group you would find in a breadline during the apocalypse. But here they are counting down the seconds to disaster. 0 hits, with it the warning. The horror show is about to begin. But what our protagonist didn't expect is that the danger wouldn't come with a roar, but with kitchen utensils. While the crowd outside gets ready, our hero is in the kitchen. He's trying to figure out why the knives decided today was the day for the Industrial Revolution. A butcher knife starts to float on its own, which, let's admit, would be any lazy chef's dream, but here it's just attempted murder. The guy, not stupid or anything, quickly realizes it's not a cheap magic trick. The knife is flying on its own. He asks, "No, genius, is there something invisible holding it?" He uses a door as a shield. Apparently, plywood is the peak of defense against paranormal entities. Attention rises when he notices he has a hand holding a knife. There is a head right behind. That's when he decides to test the theory of out of sight, out of mind. Our protagonist decides that the best way to deal with the invisible is through ignorance. He throws a punch where the invader's face should be, and, surprise, he lands a hit. The impact reveals a creature that looks like a nightmare sketch made in charcoal. He recognizes the face. It's Chang Tao. The creature, who is not foolish at all, decides that taking a beating is not part of the contract. It bolts away, leaving black footprints on the walls, as if it were a hurried graffiti artist. The hero does not let it slide. He runs after the shadow of the underworld. However, while he focuses on the monster, the real danger arrives with a message notification. Ding dong, the message of death has arrived. The sender is Black Koi. The text is a classic of villainy. You are strong, but we know your weak point. To prove they are not joking, they send a photo of his sister Chia. The ultimatum is simple. Either he accepts the wish missions, or the next knife won't hover in the kitchen but in his sister's body. The look on our protagonist's face changes immediately. The psychopathic mode, thirsty for blood, has been successfully activated. Now he needs to hide this murderous fury. The hero, in an Oscar-worthy performance, disables the death hour and pretends he was just doing some morning cardio. They discuss the creature that has Chang Tao's face, the owner of a mysterious notebook. Soon after, Lang, the guy in the lab coat from before, arrives complaining about the mess. He is indignant. The group now has to hunt ghosts and snipers, as if that were a huge deviation from their normal routine. The hero apologizes for the inconvenience, keeping that blank face that hides the fact that he wants to crush the world. Lang leaves, but he feels that behind that calm face lies a murderous aura capable of making it rain blood. And the game has just begun. The story begins with our beloved long-haired protagonist, Gao Relang. He realizes that his neighbor, or stalker target, has still not made up her mind. I thought Lang had vanished off the map. He arrives at her house and, surprise, the door has literally been blown off. Because of course in this world, ringing the doorbell is for the weak. Gal enters cheap noir detective mode. He realizes things have gotten serious. He pulls out a device that looks like an MP3 from 2005, but is actually a tracker. While he plays James Bond, the real drama is happening behind four walls. Inside some hideout, we find Zaylon. He is more bandaged than an Egyptian mummy. He explains to the young Xiaoyu that he was attacked by a ghost, and not just any ghost, but a guy he himself had killed and thrown into the sea. It's the love plot here, so strong that even death can't resolve it. He explains that the big villain this time is Black Koi, an entity that wants to turn everyone into a monster, which, let's be honest, is a wish fulfillment quest. Because nothing advances the story like an abusive RPG system that sends you threatening text messages. Aunt Lan decides it's a great idea to give a weapon to the girl. She goes out alone to handle the problem. What could go wrong? Xiaoyu, now armed and dangerous, or at least armed, tries to use Chinese Google Baidu to investigate the other wishers, but the algorithm is as terrible as in real life. It just delivers useless ads. She is there having a nervous breakdown in the middle of the street when Gal Hilanga appears out of nowhere. Like any good professional stalker, she realizes immediately that he planted a bug on her. Her reaction invites him to her bar to talk. And of course, like any responsible young person in a place full of alcohol, she orders a glass of milk. Rebellion nowadays is on another level, but between sips of milk, Gal decides to come clean about his unfriendly past. Gal Relang starts telling the story of the three brothers, Gal himself, the arrogant Yue Chao, and the brother perverted Xing Xing. They were known as the three-headed Cerberus, the elite of local crime. But like every villain boy band, they separated. The perverted brother decided it would be fun to attack his own brother in the middle of this chaos. Zalon, yes, the guy with the bands, showed up and saved the day. He earned the affectionate nickname of Corpse Demon. Gal reveals that his life goal now is to kill the Black Koi. On top of that, he wants to put the hurt on his own perverted brother. Family togetherness is another thing, right? We cut to Shaolin, who followed the quest to the top of a building. The objective: stay there for 15 minutes. Sounds easy, right? But it's not. From the shadows, a figure emerges. It looks like it came out of a low-budget anime nightmare. The perverted brother appears with a knife in hand and a smile that suggests he hasn't flossed in years. The caption warns, 15 minutes of a fight to the death. The best part, will Silence survive this romantic encounter with the knife? Will the corpse demon finally become a real corpse? Well, that's it for today. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you liked it, share it with that friend who needs to see this. A kiss on the butt. See you on Monday. God bless, and we'll see you in the next video.